we see Izuku with 2 arrows in his chest. He would be looking at Uraraka. You bitch. As he'd fall off the roof. Izuku would be falling to his death, just betrayed by one of the only people that he ever loved. To see somebody that he loved betray him, it hurt. It hurt a lot. But before Izuku hit the ground, he could see Uraraka hugging somebody. And it was his best friend. And Uraraka said that, well, he fell off the roof. She said that he was suicidal. Izuku, well, he would have been suicidal, but not to this point. He was the type to not actually go through with it. Not saying that he's a little bitch or anything, it's just that he still had some values in life. But now that Uraraka had done what she's done, I mean, he's lost all of his values. His older brother, well, his older acquaintance, I should call him, because Izuku doesn't really think of him as a brother. He doesn't even think of his family as truly family. He thinks of them as useless. They've never done a damn thing for him. And he was always so nice and caring on the outside. But Izuku just wanted to be alone. He didn't want friends or family. He didn't want people in general. Izuku just wanted to be alone. He would often be teased as a kid about his eyes. Red and blue eyes. People would call them weird. They would say that he was a odd child, especially when he didn't have a quirk. Once he was pronounced quirkless, Izuku's life was rough. He had to fend all by himself. Survival was hard for Deku. His family, his mother and father, Inko and Hiyashi, they refused to give him food or even clothing. So once Izuku's clothes tore or they were damaged, he had to try to make repairs on them or just go with them as they were. Izuku's point of view would have been changed as a young child. People told him that the world was full of amazing things, but Izuku knew that that was only for the privileged, and he wasn't privileged. Izuku was a codependent fucking 4-year-old, and that's not good. That's not good at all. He relied on other people mainly to help him. Izuku would have tried to look for lovers over and over again, thinking that, well, that might fill the void in his heart. Mind you, he's still a 4-year-old. He just wanted somebody to embrace him. His mother never did, so he thought if he found a girlfriend that maybe it would happen. But in a span of 10 years, Izuku had been rejected over and over and over again. Until the day he met a young girl named Uraraka. She was charming, good smile, beautiful hair. Izuku liked her. He thought that she might be the one to fill the void in his heart. Izuku wouldn't be in the best of health though, seeing that his parents still didn't feed him and they beat him occasionally. Izuku would try to ask his big brother for help, but Izuma would just burn him with his mediocre fire quirk. But Izuku, well, he would still thrive and try to keep going by working multiple jobs at once. But back to this Uraraka situation. Yes. So, Deku would think that Uraraka was truly the one that would fill the void in his heart, but he would be wrong. Uraraka didn't like him. She was a sick person, a sadistic person. She only cared about herself. And she thought that this boy had a strong quirk. He was so vibrant to her. But this was just a mask that Izuku had worn for a long time. Little did they know that Uraraka's betrayal would reveal Izuku's true personality. But we now go back to Uraraka and Deku. They would be dating within a span of fucking 2 weeks of talking. And once they began dating, Deku had fallen head over heels for her. Nothing could ruin this. Except for a trip to the USJ, that is. But, yeah. Nothing could ruin this. Yeah. So, Izuku would get into Class 1A because Jit was tactical. He was smart as fuck. He was on some Batman type shit. But he, this, what's the word I'm looking for? This persona, it wasn't his full potential. Deku only used a fraction of his true smarts, and that was enough to get by. Everybody thought he was a genius already, so if they saw him at his best, they would be amazed. But Izuku knew that there was no point of a quirkless person even trying. So, he barely used his smarts. And apparently that was enough for him to be a genius. So, he just stuck with that. He would go on to defeat multiple robots, getting 5th in the practical exam. I think that's what it's called. And in the written exam, Izuku, he aced that bitch. Full marks, Jit. And, shit. Yeah. He'd have gotten into UA. And on the first week of UA, Izuku he'd have been disliked. He wouldn't have been hated, just disliked. Because most of the children didn't think that it was fair that he got in, because, well, he was quirkless. And, well, you know people. Hating ass people. Lame ass people. Dumb ass people. You know what? That doesn't matter. That does not matter. But, yeah, they were, lames, to be specific. And shit, they preyed on this nigga Izuku downfall. But Izuku wasn't worried. As long as he had Uraraka, he knew that he could make it through anything. And after this week had passed, Uraraka and Deku excuse me, they would be sitting at a candlelit dinner. Uraraka looking at Izuku's beautiful eyes as Deku would be gazing at this bitch Uraraka. And shit, in the middle of the dinner, they got up, left, and went to the back of the restaurant, I should say. No, fuck all that shit. They went back to Izuku's apartment for the time being. Yeah, why not? They went back to Izuku's apartment and they got busy. Deku got that 90-inch deluxe dick down deluxe ultimate gut jabber. Okay, that was cringy. I'm not even gonna cap. But yeah, that's what he got. And Uraraka took every inch of it like the slut she is. But back to the story. Izuku would have piped down to Uraraka viciously, and they would have woke up in bed the next day. They'd have gotten dressed, and they'd have went to the USJ. Now this was where the betrayal truly began. Because Uraraka used Izuku. A day before, she found out he had no quirk. And Uraraka despised people with no quirks. She despised the quirkless. Her family had brought her up like that. They made her think that quirkless people were useless. And she... excuse me. Yes, as I was saying. She was with Izuku for so long, but she didn't care about him once she found out that he was quirkless. She thought that he was instantly useless. What could a useless person like Uraraka ever do to... not Uraraka. A useless person like Izuku ever do for her? She completely neglected the fucking facts that he aced the practical and written exams of the test to get into UA, but yeah, that's a story for another time, I guess. So we now go back to the USJ. You see Izuku touring the place with 13 and the rest of his classmates until Kirishima would point out that shit, y'all hired real villains? Wait, what are you talking about? Shit, we did not hire real villains. What are you talking about? As Kirishima would say, then who the fuck are they? As 13 would turn around and say, oh my god, niggas always ruining shit. As she would say, Aizawa, can you handle this? Aizawa would just nod his head, being the absolute boss that he is, as he would jump down and say, alright, I'm finna fold all of y'all niggas single-handedly. As he would begin running through the fucking villains. 13, after getting through her, or his, I don't know what they are, after getting through their shock. Fuck, I'm tired of shit. They would go down and help Aizawa. Izuku, well, shit. He would go down and help Aizawa as well. As Izuku was going through villains, Shigaraki would have called out the Nomu. He'd been like, Nomu, go kill those bastards. And yeah, the Nomu would have listened to this damn command, and he'd have rushed they shit. But Izuku, being the smart ass he is, he already knew that the brain was the weakest spot on that Nomu, and he tried to attack it. But it didn't work. It didn't work. Oh, and by the way, yeah, Ida was still sent to go get the heroes. Yeah. Or All Might, to be specific. Yeah, but back to the story. Yep, Izuku got his shit slammed. The Nomu cocked back his fist, uppercut style, and hit this nigga Izuku in the chin, breaking his jaw completely, sending a shock through his body, and sending him up to the roof. This nigga flew to the top of the USJ and landed on the top. But young Uraraka, this is where she comes into play. She was thinking ahead. She was thinking about getting rid of the quirkless kid, as she didn't want to use her quirk to fucking just yeet him off the fucking building. She decided to use 2 arrows that were stuck inside of another villain to kill Izuku. Plus, once she had killed Izuku, she had already been seeing Bakugo. And no, fuck Bakugo. Fuck that pussy ass nigga. She'd been seeing Ida. Ida's a goat, right? Nah, fuck that nigga. Yeah, she'd been seeing Ida, Izuku's best friend, by the way, as shit. Yeah, shit. She'd have touched herself, paused, and floated up to the root. There she would have saw a broken down Izuku. She'd never seen Izuku look like this before. He looked vulnerable, and that was because his mask was cracking. He had just realized how useless he truly was. But his thoughts were interrupted by Uraraka. She'd say, Izuku, are you alright? As Izuku would wipe away the few tears that he had as he'd stand up. Uraraka would have 2 arrows behind her back. Izuku didn't notice. And when he said, yeah, Uraraka, I'm fine, Ida would have already come back with the heroes. And Uraraka would have used her quirk to plunge the arrows through Izuku's chest. And this would lead us back to the present time. That slut. Why'd she do it? I loved her. I loved her a lot. Guess not anymore. Is this her way of breaking up with me? As Uraraka would be hugging Izuku's best friend, which would be Ida, as he'd have rushed up there and he'd have seen that Izuku, well, he was falling and there wasn't much that he could do. He didn't blame Uraraka, and he neglected the fucking fact that there are 2 arrows in his chest. But other than that, yeah, they're all good except for Izuku, who had just hit the floor with a thud. Izuku's body, it had already been pretty badly injured by the Nomu sending a powerful ass uppercut to his fucking jaw. But this betrayal would have broken Izuku's mask. The mask that Izuku once wore. It cracked and wended away. He would have opened his eyes in a purple place. A dark purple place. Everything was purple. Izuku would have looked around. He would have seen a plant. This plant had a single apple on it. And it was guarded by bunches and bunches of snakes. And there was like a small person that was watching the apple and controlling all of the snakes. Deku would walk up to them, as the person would say, "Oh, are you trying to be the next successor of this ability?" Ability? What the hell are you talking about? Aren't I dead? I mean, that sled did kill me, right? No, she didn't. Go through this all the time. Swear. No, she didn't kill you. You're in the space between life and death. Blah blah blah. Do you want to inherit the power and go back and get your revenge or not? I mean, it really does not matter to me. As Izuku, he would smile as he'd say, "Sure, why not?" As the small boy would have said, "Alright then, all you have to do is survive a bite from each one of these snakes and, well, you'll be good." And there was about 100 snakes there, so, it took a while. But after Izuku had digested all of the venom, he ended up being perfectly fine. And they shocked the boy, saying that this was spiritual venom, supposed to kill a unpure soul in instants. And he thought Izuku's soul was unpure, or dirty, to be specific. But apparently it wasn't, which kinda shocked him. Izuku would have said, "Alright, so do I pass the test?" The boy would have said, yeah, you do." As he'd have picked the apple and he'd have given it to Izuku. As sorry. Izuku would have said, "Thanks." As he'd have been sent back to the real world. This is where he would have gotten the phone. As Izuku would have said, the fuck is this?" As his body would still be on the ground, as it would say. The phone would say, "I am your personal assistant. If you have a wish, I'll grant it." As Izuku would say, "So, you'll grant me any wish?" Yeah, I will." As Izuku says, "Well then, my first wish. I wish I had a power, or an ability, or a quirk," as the phone would have said, coming right up, searching for an awesome quirk for my user. As the phone would have came up with pain manipulation, or pain lock, to be specific, or, well, that's at least what I'm calling this ability for the time being, pain lock. As Izuku would have read the description, as it would have said, the user that wields this power will be able to the user that wields this power would be able to control specified amounts of pain They could amplify amounts of pain and, well, decrease pain. It all depends on the user. As Izuku would have smiled, as he'd have thought about so many different ways that he could have used this technique, and how easy it would be for him to become the #1 hero just off of this. And so Izuku would have, well, accepted this power. The phone would have also healed his body, and Izuku would have stood up as he'd have walked back into the USJ, and All Might was still fighting the Nomu, but yeah, Izuku was a little more crazy. His mask was gone. That nice little cheerful boy that they knew. He had turned into a depressed, sadistic, angry, mean boy. This boy didn't care about your feelings. He didn't care about shit. Only the people he loved. And, well, if you've been listening, it's nobody. He cares about nobody. And so, once Izuku walked in, yeah, he was on fucking bumper shit. He looked at the Nomu and instantly said, maximum damage. As Izuku would have made a fist and he'd have ran at the deku. Not the deku, the Nomu. Why the fuck did I say deku? I'm an idiot. Yes, but he'd have ran at the Nomu and he'd have punched the Nomu once, which would have did no damage. But All Might would have said, kid, what the hell are you doing? As Izuku would have said, don't worry, I got this. As once he hit the Nomu, he'd have looked at Shigaraki and smiled and said, it's over. As Deku would have said, pain manipulation activate. As his red eye would start to glow. As Izuku would, he would, look at the Nomu as it was thriving in fucking pain. As he'd say, that's what you get, you oversized lump. Now, to deal with your leader. As he'd have looked at Shigaraki, walking over slowly. Shigaraki. Isn't that your name? Or is that just your nickname? Well, it doesn't matter. That's what these losers call you, so I guess I'll call you it as well. Shigaraki, explain to me. How do you want to die? As Izuku would have a grin on his face. Die? What are you talking about? As Deku would have just tapped Shigaraki's head and said, maximum damage. Activate. Pain manipulation. As he'd have stepped back, Shigaraki would have fell to the ground almost immediately. He'd have been screaming in agony and pain. He'd have been yelling for Kirigiri to help him, but Izuku, yeah, he wasn't having it. He would have went to touch Kirigiri, but he noticed that he was made of all smoke. As Izuku would say, so, can't touch you. As he'd have pulled out his phone and said, make him, what's the word I'm looking for? Make him physical. As the phone would have said, can do. As Izuku would have walked over to Kirigiri, who still thought he was intangible. As or tangible. Which one? Intangible, tangible, intangible. Yeah. He still thought he was intangible, but nah. Jit was fully physical. This nigga Izuku touched his dumbass, hit him with the same shit he hit Shigaraki with, and said, "Alright, have fun. I'm done here. Damn bastards. So useless." As he'd then seen the slut Uraraka. Now, mind you, everybody's mouth is fucking jaw dropped. They're all surprised that this nigga Izuku just did this. But, Izuku would, he would look at, Uraraka and say, "You know you fucked up, right?" So Uraraka would have said, "What? What are you talking about?" As Ida would have said, "Izuku? Is that really you? I thought you were dead. I thought you committed Shut up, Ida. You're an idiot if you thought I committed suicide. Didn't you see the arrows in my chest? That little slut right there. She damn near killed me. I got lucky though. But I'm looking for revenge. I won't stop until her blood's on my hands." As Deku would be at Uraraka's face with his hand directly at her nose. As he would just tap it. As he'd say, "Now die. Maximum, damn it." But before he could activate it, All Might tried to hit this nigga with a punch because he thought that Izuku was dangerous. Izuku would have looked at this nigga, All Might, and said, "You about useless as fuck." As he'd have kicked All Might away and said, "Alright, let's try this again." As he'd have tapped Uraraka's nose, she'd have squinted a little bit. As Izuku would have said, "Alright, now die. 100% maximum damage." As he'd have said, "Pain manipulation activate." His right eye was gonna start glowing. But before he could, his eye started bleeding. And the phone said, "I'm sorry, Master, but you've kinda ran out of times to use this ability." As Izuku would have said, "What are you talking about? You asked me to give you this ability, but you never said how many times. So your limit for right now is only 3. As Izuku would have said, "Oh my gosh. Alright, fine. Guess I'll just beat her ass regular." As he'd have gotten into a fighting stance and told her to stand up. She'd have tried to defend herself, but Izuku ran her shit. But I think I'm gonna leave it off here because I need to go put my phone back before I get in trouble and probably not get it back for like the next 2 months. So yeah, bye guys.